All right, welcome everyone to a little mini lecture on what the modern classroom actually looks like. Today, we're going to explore how learning itself is changing. I mean, really changing. We're talking about the journey from old school chalkboards all the way to the clicks and taps of our digital world.
So let's just start with a quick question for you. Think about it for a second. How has learning changed since you were in school? Seriously, take a moment. Depending on your age, you might be picturing chalkboards, or maybe those cool overhead projectors, or hey, maybe you were there for the first wave of clunky classroom computers. It's a really interesting question, right? Because education is changing faster now than ever before.
Okay, so here's our game plan, our little lesson plan for today. We're going to look at how the classroom has evolved, nail down some key terms so we're all speaking the same language, then jump into the big debate. After that, we'll see if a blended approach is the answer, and wrap it all up by thinking about what this means for your learning.
First up, the evolving classroom. For centuries, learning meant one thing: being in a physical place. You had your four walls, a teacher up at the front, and neat little rows of desks. But technology, it has completely turned that on its head. It's taken us from chalkboards to clicks, and that has opened up this incredible world of new possibilities. And, of course, some new debates, too.
All right, to really get into this, we all need to be on the same page. We need a shared vocabulary. So, in this next part, we're just going to quickly break down the three main ways of learning that are at the center of this whole conversation.
First, let's talk about the one we all know, right? Face-to-face learning. This is the classic, traditional classroom. Everybody's in the same room. You can talk to each other directly in real time. This is the very foundation that modern education was built on.
And then, of course, we have online learning. This is where everything happens over the internet. And the biggest thing here, the defining feature, is total freedom from a physical place. Your classroom can be, anywhere. A coffee shop, your couch, even on the bus. It's learning on the go.
And last but not least, we have blended learning. Think of this as the hybrid, the model that tries to take the best of both worlds. It combines that awesome flexibility you get with online stuff with the super valuable direct interaction of a traditional classroom.
Okay, so now that we've got our terms down, we can really get into the thick of it, the great learning debate. This is where we're going to put the two big ones, in-person and online, head-to-head, and really break down what's great about them and what's not so great.
To make this debate feel a little more real, let's meet a couple of students. So, in one corner, we've got Kim. She's all about the traditional, face-to-face classroom. And in the other corner, we have Laura, who's a huge advocate for online learning. She thinks it's got way more advantages.
Let's hear from Kim first. For her, it's all about that immediate human connection. When she has a question, she wants to be able to talk to her teachers and classmates, as she says, immediately and directly. That real-time conversation, that instant feedback, for her, that's what makes learning really work.
Okay, now let's flip over to Laura's point of view. Her whole argument is built around one word: flexibility. She loves that she can learn on her own schedule. For her, it's not about missing out on anything. In fact, she feels like she has more access. It's just learning, but on her terms.
Yeah, this table really lays it all out, doesn't it? The pros and cons. On one hand, the advantages are huge. Learning at your own pace, from literally anywhere, that's powerful. But then you look at the other side, you've got the downside. Staring at a computer for hours, dealing with tech problems, and maybe losing out on that spontaneous in-person chat. It's a real trade-off.
So you've got this tug-of-war, right? Kim wants that direct interaction, and Laura needs that flexibility. So the big question is there a way to make them both happy? And that leads us perfectly into our next section, a blended solution. The idea here is to try and combine the best of both worlds.
So what does this actually look like day to day?
Well, a lot of the time, it kind of flips the old model on its head. Students do the groundwork, watching videos, reading materials, on their own time, online. Then, that precious in-person class time, that's used for the really important stuff: working together, solving tough problems in groups, and having those face-to-face conversations with the teacher.
And the benefits here are pretty amazing when you think about it. Students get that control and easy access that Laura loves, but the classroom itself becomes this dynamic hub for all the collaboration and direct interaction that Kim thrives on. Plus, hey, if you're sick one day, you don't fall totally behind. It really is a powerful mix.
And that brings us to our final section, and honestly, it's the most important takeaway from this whole thing. You're learning your way. So after looking at all of this, what's the big conclusion? What have we learned today?
Here's the bottom line. There is no single best way to learn.
It's just not that simple. Education isn't one size fits all anymore. The ideal method really, truly depends on the student, on the subject, even on what you're trying to achieve. What works perfectly for someone like Kim might be a terrible fit for Laura. And you know what? That's totally okay.
So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. After hearing all this, what does your perfect classroom look like? Are you Team Kim, all about that in-person energy? Are you Team Laura, loving the online freedom? Or do you think that blended model is really the future? Think about it, because your answer says a lot, not just about how you learn, but about where education is heading. Thanks so much for tuning in.